Hi, I'm Glenn Donovan, the founder of American Digital Foundry, and I'm so excited to share with you what we're up to over here and why I'm doing this. I'm a veteran of the tech industry for the past 35 years, had a business called Sales Coach for Startups, worked with a number of startups ranging from companies like Algorithmics and Siebel back in the 90s through to companies like CBeyond, and Cordis. All these were acquired by other players. Most of my experience was in B2B. I worked for a number of others that you would might or might not know of. But through my consulting and my work as a seller and a team member helping to sell early clients and help develop these companies, I've learned so much about how to launch a successful SaaS company and tech company. And what I wanted to do was bring that skill set and that ability to American tech workers who've been displaced by offshoring, outsourcing, and the flood of foreign workers into our workforce. I've gotten to know so many of them due to my advocacy on X and really getting involved in this legal immigration reform issue. And it's heartbreaking to hear the stories of the individuals involved. And I think that's the thing that gets lost in a lot of the politicking and a lot of the focus on messaging and sort of the kind of the food fight that goes on in social media about this, which I've been part of at times, don't get me wrong. But, and this is the personal cost. I ended up speaking with many, many American tech workers who have been displaced through all of this. Really highly skilled people who have been treated very poorly. And today we're seeing open discrimination against American workers. And this was proven at court cases at places like Meta, Apple, and others. But I want to get away from a negative energy and focus on a positive, building, creative energy. And that's what American Digital Foundry is all about. Empowering the American tech worker to build the next wave of digital technology that's going to be the future of the digital world, in the American digital tech marketplace, a landscape, if you will. So I built a program to help those folks do that based on my experience. I've also built my own SaaS app this year, which I'm about to launch using AI agents to build the software. By the way, as a guy who only took programming in college and has messed about with some things over the years, for me to be able to build an application that is commercial grade using software agents. Now, in my case, it took me 11 months. But I think for a competent engineer, this can be done in 90 days with the right sort of support and guardrails placed on the process. So what I'd like to do is show you a little bit about the program here and how we're going to take people through it. At the start of the process is an idea review. Yeah. The idea review is a panel comprised of people with long experience in the industry who can review the commercial aspects of the idea, the feasibility of the idea. And that the last panel I had assembled for the first candidates who are coming through this process, we had 100 years of experience on the panel. It's really important. By the way, this is not a VC. We're not going to be investing in these products at this stage of the game. We may want to connect with venture capitalists and be their incubator arm and help them bring founders from idea to actually an MVP with this process. But we're not looking to set this up as some high wire act. It's a consultative process, a collaborative process, a conversation, bringing our wisdom and expertise and knowledge to these ideas to help young, and usually developers are younger, but it doesn't matter the age at all, but help builders who have an idea to really do the upfront work that increases the likelihood of success so dramatically. And we're using AI tools throughout to make this easy. So we're using something I call a brand ladder. You've seen other versions of it. What this is all about is really thinking about what are we going to sell to people, specifically features and benefits, and to whom and why they would be interested in it. Bring people through competitive analyses. This is one of the weakest parts of what I see in startups that I've advised, and I've advised a bunch of them and worked for a bunch of them. They don't really think deeply about the customers as much as you'd think. It's really surprising, and they don't think deeply enough about the competitive landscape. And I think these two exercises can fundamentally change, likely, it will change the strategy and change your concept of what you're doing and sharpen it, but it will make it much more likely that you're going to succeed once you launch a product. Too many founders race into building product these days, and that's kind of been encouraged by the engineering mindset dominating a lot of incubators from my perspective. And I don't think that the engineering mindset alone is enough to get you where you want to be. And I think that's why we see so much failure too of startups. And we've seen, epic failures in the past 20 years in the SaaS business. For some reason that was okay though. I don't know. Why such a high failure rate? By the way, when I started in startups in the early 90s, it wasn't that way. Enough about me and my old dog stories, okay? My war stories. But the concept development is very important. What we end up with is a marketing requirements document. And we're using GPT, or we could use a product called Chat PRD to support creating these documents and helping us assemble this information and write really good marketing requirements documents. It's absolutely amazing what you can do today with that AI to very quickly get to a good marketing requirements document. This flattens the whole product management process, by the way. Then we help them look at the commercial model and what would be how they could do pricing, what would be the freemium offering, what would be the tiers. And there's a whole workshop to make sure that the API costs don't clobber you if you scale, that the hosting costs don't clobber you, etc. And making sure that you've got a logical freemium model that's going to work, that you can deliver, that provides enough value, because that enables you to flatten the funnel. This idea of building sales funnels with endless emails, that's a failed model. That's ridiculously expensive. For you're spending $5 for every dollar of revenue that you might get out of it, and it might take you a year to get to significant revenues doing that. And you're millions in the hole already. And you have to dig out, and this is what a lot of startups go through. I think we can totally flatten the funnel by putting free product forward, and I mean significant freemium product. We can talk more about that if we get to know us a little better. By the way, LLMs are super helpful for developing these pricing models. Again, you're just able to iterate so much more rapidly and get something that makes sense. And then what we're able to do is take that and turn that into a PRD, right? And then we can have ChatGPT or Claude, or I don't care whichever one you want to use. All of them are good at this now, to write the product requirement document and then write the Lovable or Rocket.new or other prototyping agent prompt for you. Lovable.dev or Rocket.new or these other tools are amazing. If you give them a strong enough prompt, they will build an incredible first level prototype for you. It's not perfect. Sometimes you have to do it a couple times, 3, even several times to get it right where you want to be. But then you have something you can iterate against. You've gone from 0 to 1 very, very quickly here. Yeah? Get from 0 to 1 as quick as possible with a sound idea, and then begin iterating against it. And we go through that. The prototyping process, again, is just like the product management process. The requirements process is flattened by AI. We flatten this prototyping process with AI. No more wireframes are required. This entire sort of exercise can be done with very little engineering input at this stage of the game. All right, and you'll recognize some of the stages we're talking about here. But the idea is to get to a functional MVP candidate that then gets turned over to an engineer for MVP development, still using software agents. But then at this point, you're going to fix a lot of things and rebuild the product to some degree to make it really industrial, sort of scalable and commercial quality is what I mean, not industrial quality, right? So, a services level architecture to manage data, the right users, session management, user authorization, highly secure environment. Not doing silly calls in the browser, not exposing API keys and things like that that are just, really hugely problematic and can happen when you're building with a software agent, in the prototype process. But, one of the cool things you have these days is if you use a lovable.dev, for example, it builds a Supabase database for you. You're starting out with a database, right? You're starting out building React and TypeScript, and you're doing it in a way that can be fixed and managed and managed by a software engineer who knows what they're doing. And you can do this whole process now in production for very low cost to free. Vercel offers a free development environment. Supabase offers a free development environment. GitHub even has a free plan, although you may want to get out of the free plan at some point there. But for a very low amount of monthly fees, you can have the entire environment you need to build out this platform where you're going to pay us for the software agent, whether you're using, Cursor or whether you're using Bolt or whatever you're using. There's a whole bunch of them out there. I've used several myself. I'm not going to recommend what's the right one to use in this because this will just get me criticized. I don't want to get an argument about software agents. What I want to tell you is with a good software engineer supervising the process, with a set of guardrails that are provided to the builders, and that, by the way, they become the format of an MD that a builder would put into their repo, that would control and sort of put guardrails on the software agent so it doesn't use mock data, so it doesn't put bad functionality in the functionality in the browser that doesn't belong there. And I'll tell you, the software agents have come a long ways. What just what you can do with Claude 4.5. It is a much more robust development environment that looks at the entire context when you're coding. One of the problems that would happen in the past is when you got to a bigger product, this is where the software agents would fall apart. What we have now are agents that can look at the entire code base, and with the proper guardrails and the proper prompting to, of bite-sized chunks, you can really protect yourself from the software agent, the AI agent losing context and hallucinating. And if you've got an engineer checking out code and supervising this process, you can very rapidly get to an MVP. We think this entire process can be run in 90 days. Now, what happens is we're putting together two-person teams, right? Where there's a builder who's either technical or non-technical, working with an apprentice, or a partner who's very technical, who's a good software developer, right? And then as we get to the MVP process, the builder, one of the people moves more into the business development process, and we help them with early phase marketing and early adoption launch plans. And we have a platform and a user community, an audience on social media that can give us some promotional value to help launch these businesses. And I've got a whole process I'll take them through on how to create social media content and how to sort of earn those early customers by going after and winning thought leaders over. And then, the end of the day, you now have a complete environment, a launched MVP, a working business plan, and early customers that you can now maybe go raise money with if you want to, or you can potentially build this business on your own and keep it for yourself. And this is really the strongest, the best part of this. What we want to see happen is American tech workers own these small SaaS companies where they're not having to seek external capital if they don't want to. And they can build these more entrepreneurial environments that they own and reap the benefits of this and control more of the product, to have more ownership versus getting so much dilution so early on. There's a lot more to this. In phase 2, we would probably look to work with some angel investors and venture capitalists, potentially, various phases, to bring capital into these environments and work on bigger projects. But this is the start. I think it's got tremendous value. And if you look on the website, there's a form you can fill out. Please do. If you want to be a coach, if you want to be a builder, if you want to be an apprentice, or if you want to be a patron and support this, please do. We need people to support this effort early on through donations, because we've got to build this, and I can't fund this all myself. I'll tell you right now, we need help. So we're looking for people who want to get involved in a variety of ways and really take back technology and build American citizen led companies that will be the digital future. Okay, thanks, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you personally and to growing American Digital Foundry.